Hi, I'm Greg Schaffer, and welcome to the Virtual CISO Moment. Nick Eicken joins us today. He is the founder and vCISO at CyberAuthority. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me, Greg. Looking forward to it.
I'd like to start as we usually do. Tell me about your career path, how and why you got started in this wonderful thing called cyber and information security, and what led you to where you're at today.
Yeah, thank you for letting me do that. So I started my technical career in the Army. I went to UC Davis in California, got a commission as a signal officer, and for about 10 or 11 years, I built top secret networks for other units to come and train on in the military. So we would build those, the other units would come in and get validated before they went overseas. And so I got a lot of good training there, met a lot of good people. And once my family started growing, I decided to leave the military and go into the IT sector. So I had a lot of good experience that I could take into the private sector. From there, I went to nonprofits, to consulting, to local government. I worked for our local county for about 10 years doing their cybersecurity. I was working at a local manufacturer of medical equipment. And while I was setting up their cybersecurity program, talking with all of my other contemporaries also trying to do the same thing, I noticed how difficult it was for the small and medium-sized businesses to get expert level guidance, try to bring that in. It can be expensive, it can take a long time. And once I got the program running there, I was at Black Hat actually, and I was talking to one of our vendors about how difficult it was to bring in this kind of guidance and leadership. And we started talking about the vCISO model, and that really just struck a chord with me. I really liked that. One of my passions is setting up the program, doing the knowledge transfer, and handing it over to the companies to be able to run it themselves. And so I found that the fractional or vCISO model really spoke to my interests and my passions. So I decided to start CyberAuthority. I started end of October 2023. So we're still getting out of the gates, but we've had a lot of good successes out there in the small to medium business space. And it's never a dull moment. And I'm just having a really good time helping companies build their security programs and become more safe out there.
Now, you and I share something in that we both went through the certified virtual CISO program. I'm curious, what did you think of it? Do you think, did you enjoy it? Do you think it's got value?
I do. I actually really enjoyed it. One of the things that I liked about it, and this is probably coming from my military days, is the standardization. It had a standardized way of a vCISO model, and that really spoke to me, and that helped me compartmentalize it in my head and be able to bring a system to my clients that I know works, that works every time. And then if you work the process, you'll always get a good product. And so I actually really try to bring that kind of standardization and model to all of the clients that I work with. I mean, the other thing is it's a great community. They're wonderful people. Everybody's just trying to do their best for their clients. And, their ethos was really that we're just trying to enable the business, and their standard of ethics was very, very high. And so that spoke to me.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I was very impressed. I went through the course, the training, I think a little bit after you do, I think in the next cohort. And actually, it was based on, I won't quite call it a challenge, but I guess it was a challenge because I was a little skeptical about it at first. And so the folks, the fine folks that run the program invited me to join in and to give my evaluation of it as well too, which I did. And I was very pleased with the program, the fact that it helps to level set the virtual CISO market, because there's so many different types of virtual CISOs out there. You almost don't know what you're going to get. It's like Forrest Gump and a box of chocolates, I guess. So
exactly.
I always like asking former military, and by the way, thank you for your service. What's one thing that you bring to the table in your career now that from your military experience?
Yeah, like I was saying before, for me, in our business, the standard of ethics is the top thing that we can bring. Clients have to know that when they bring someone like us in, that we're going to, one, act ethically and keep their information safe. We're looking at their vulnerabilities. We're finding out where they are most at risk. And by knowing that, they put a lot of trust in us. So it's really important that we lead with those standard of ethics and put them at ease, because most of the time they're already coming into a vCISO engagement nervous about the big bad cyber world out there. So that, for me, helps them understand that I'm here to help protect them. And
Well,
of
yeah.
course, I was just going to
Well,
say our work
go ahead.
ethic, of course.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I can definitely agree with that. I was Air Force myself, and just the camaraderie and the teamwork and the mission sense to just get the job done definitely is one that comes over. And of course, you
Yeah.
touched on ethics, which I think is the foundation of everything with what we do. But you also touched on that SMBs, they don't really understand sometimes the cyber threats that are out there, and there's a lot, because you can have different things going around the world, different factions that are leveraging the internet and network connectivity to gain an advantage somewhere. So we have like nation state cyber attacks going on all over the place. But so when you're talking about SMBs, though, they can't quite respond to threat intelligence and then respond accordingly quite the way that the larger organizations do. So what's
Right.
a way that you tailor it to meet the needs and the capabilities of those SMBs?
Yeah, I have found some being quite surprised that, vCISOs actually monitor that stuff to bring the intelligence to the businesses. And of course, they're so busy just working on their business. It's not something that they can particularly keep an eye on. So for me, it starts with knowing their business as well as possible. What do they do? What space are they in? Where are their vendors coming from? So that when I'm monitoring the world at large, I can understand where their vulnerabilities might come from. For example, do they have a vendor in a sensitive part of the world? Or is, like right now, we're seeing a lot of phishing attacks going. So if I can tailor my intelligence to their business needs and filter it and say it in a way that they understand, it helps us get ahead of that. And then, is there something that we can do? Should we send out messaging about phishing? Should we actually maybe do some tabletop exercises, or go over their vendors? Do they have a critical vendor that maybe is across the world that is in the affected area? And do we need to reach out, or do we need to try to maybe find a secondary supplier in that space? So, finding the information and tailoring it to the way that they understand is kind of my way of doing that.
So there are, the SMB space is kind of interesting in that a lot of times they don't even consider bringing on a CISO, but some do sometimes, and sometimes that they have a little bit of a conundrum between, well, do I bring on a CISO or do I bring on a vCISO? I know you say CISO, I say CISO, or CISO, or
CISO, yeah.
It's just so many ways to slice it, either, I guess. But
Right.
And one of the truths out there is that the virtual CISO role is not quite the same as the CISO role. We're kind of like we're not part of the team, but we're kind of like, I mean, a permanent part, but we're kind of like advisors, and we've seen a lot, and we have a more of a consulting base. That's one of the things that I did like about the Security Studios CISO program, and that is that part of the training did actually talk about some things about how to be a consultant, for example. So there's a difference. I mean, what's one of the things, or like the benefit of, like, if you were, if someone asked you, it's just like, well, I don't know, should my company have a virtual CISO or a full-time CISO? How do you explain the benefits of what the vCISO brings to the table?
Right. For me, it's that the vCISO has a very focused job in that they're trying to build the security program and make it successful for the company. Sometimes, and I experienced this at a couple of my previous jobs, when it's an embedded CISO, they're pulled in a lot of different ways, and some of the business, or maybe not necessarily politics, but other stuff that's going on within the business can influence that. So by being an outside third party, you're able to kind of step away from that a little bit and be insulated from anything else that's going on, and just focus on the task, and like I said, not be pulled in different ways. And when a company brings you in, they expect a certain set of services from you, and they kind of let you do that and be the expert, as opposed to sometimes when there's an embedded resource, there's other expectations and needs out of that resource. So I appreciate being, the third party that can just focus on just the security part, helping the business and doing the job that I was brought in to do.
I got to say that one of the things that I don't miss from my full-time days of being a CISO, or really being in any role, particularly in a leadership role, is I don't miss the politics. And that's one of the things that they're bringing you in as a consultant, as a virtual CISO. It's like, you're not immune from the politics, but you're definitely insulated. And the other cool thing too that I tell folks is, like, because particularly like if you're a virtual CISO and you're working like 5, 6, 7 clients, it's like, it's a lot easier to fire a client. To get to the point where there's like, there's too much politics going on. It's like, look, you got to get your house in order first before we can talk about the security program. But to your point, building a security program and having that charge is usually comes with wanting to start with some sort of framework. And I know that NIST cybersecurity framework is certainly one of the more prevalent ones out there. And in fact, I believe you recently published guidance on how SMBs can implement CSF. But I know I've seen some hurdles with SMBs and frameworks and getting them implemented. What are some that you've seen, and how do you help them overcome those hurdles?
Right. So the biggest hurdle that I usually see is just when they get in there and they start looking at it, it's just too overwhelming for them. It feels like there's so many controls that they need to put in place. There's so many different pieces of evidence that they need to gather. And like I said, it's just overwhelming. They don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. So it's helpful for someone like us to come in that has done it over and over and has a good grasp on it. And once we do the initial assessment and know their gaps, then we can prioritize those and get to work on them. And just kind of by being there and by being able to talk them through it, that kind of puts them at ease, and the process starts flowing a lot better. And also being able to talk to, how do these controls, one, safeguard your business, but how can they be a business enabler? Right. So a lot of times our controls or security controls are looked at as another step. MFA is another step for me to get logged into my email, or change management control. Okay, I got to fill out this form just to be able to make a change in my business. And so by being able to talk to those controls and how they can help your business move forward, then they start seeing, oh, okay, these are things that I need to do. And then they move into, oh, these are things that I want to do. And if we can get that ball rolling and get that momentum built, then the whole program as a whole becomes easier and welcomed. So kind of just demystifying it and turning it into something that they understand and eventually, hopefully, appreciate is really helpful.
So on that note, I know the first part of the engagement as a virtual CISO is like critical, because you're trying to learn stuff, you're trying to build trust, you're trying to get the relationship going. You're certainly trying to, as quick as possible, find those things that are the most impactful, the lowest hanging fruit, I guess you could tell them. But everybody, I think, does it a little bit differently, and without giving away any sort of trade secrets or anything. Of course, I'm not asking for that. But just for someone like that who doesn't really understand what a virtual CISO does, can you at a high level walk through like what your onboarding process is? How do you start? What do you expect from them? What do you think that they expect from you? I know we touched on some of that already, but just kind of fill in the gaps.
Sure. I think for me, the biggest and most critical step up front is understanding their why. Why do they do business? Why are they in business? There is something that they want to accomplish at the end of the day. And if they know that I understand that, and the things that we put in place or the measures that we do are there to enable that why, then things are going to go much smoother. They're going to be much more apt to participate in the things that we need to participate. So I'll spend whatever time we need to understand what they do, why, how they do it, and why they do it. And so once they understand that I understand and that we're on the same team trying to achieve the same goal, then we can get into the intakes with the questionnaires, and then go through the intake in my application that will build the assessment. And we're looking at all of the assessment in the lens of how and why they do business. And so, then you get into an assessment, and assessments vary, but in general, you're getting to know the business, how they do business, and the gaps, whether it's just in security or if they're going for maybe a compliance or something. So, and I try to also reiterate through the whole assessment and the work that we're doing, how all of this work ties back to their business process, and how it can help them be more resilient or potentially even be a business multiplier.
Well, I love the statement about starting out by understanding their why, and I would submit that separates. I have used the term vCISO on the podcast before, and what that is vCISO in name only, and it's really a verbal expression of my frustration that in our industry we have some folks that put the vCISO moniker on their name or LinkedIn or whatever, and they're really not much more than like an IT security analyst, manager, that sort of thing. And so when they start engagements, they immediately start going in and looking at technical stuff and looking at tools, and then it inevitably settles down to, well, you need this other tool. That's why I'm such a big proponent of, or I'm not a big proponent of virtual CISOs with MSPs without understanding the transparency inherent. MSPs can certainly offer the service fine, but if you start out leading by, you need to have a technical solution, and by the way, we saw one, then you kind of lose that objectivity, right?
Exactly. Yeah. For me, the best relationships I have are with MSPs that actually don't do the CISO work. And what I try to tell my clients is their MSP, what they do is very secure, but that does not equal a security program. And the MSPs who are trying to focus on what they do and do it well, and that I've created partnerships with understand that they need someone, one, who has been trained, who focuses on this, and two, we actually appreciate keeping that separation because it lends more credence and it lends more trust, honestly, in the long run with the clients. That I mean, I use the term disinterested third party, disinterested in the sense that I'm not there to sell them any product or solution or technology. I'm there to help them build their program, whereas the MSP would be interested in selling that stuff. I'm not saying overselling or giving them stuff they don't need, but it helps with that third party disconnection in a way. So we've found a lot of success in ensuring that the clients know that that's how we structure our businesses, and that helps my business working with their business helps the client grow, and inevitably it's always a synergistic relationship. You know, if MSP has a client that needs security, they can bring me in, and that helps my business. But you know, if inevitably we find a process that needs to be built or created or augmented, and the MSP can help with that in a lot of ways. So
yeah, I think it just boils down to, when all is said and done, is like, if you have the client's best interest at heart and you demonstrate that, then that's going to come out, and usually that begins with transparency and to your point, understanding their why. So, you know, there's a lot of stress though involved with everything. I don't know about you, but I internalize a lot. Like, I take my clients' postures personally, and I stress over it, and I want to make sure that everything is covered. But you can't cover everything in information security. It's really about managing risks to an acceptable level. It doesn't mean eliminating risks, because if you do that, you don't have a business. So we need to have ways to in a positive way, to help with the stress, help decompress is the word I used. Before we started the recording, I was mentioning to you that prior to this, earlier this morning, I was out mountain biking on a rather slippery, muddy trail, which was a little bit slipperier than I thought it would be, and a little tough getting over those rocks. But anyway, that introduces a different kind of stress, but it does take me away from the stresses of cyber and being an entrepreneur. What's one of the things that you do to decompress? Because you are also an entrepreneur, and I know that that's a tough life as well. So how do you decompress?
Got a couple of ways. The first is I am an avid beer brewer. So
I used to do that too. I used to brew IPAs. So
yep, absolutely. I love to brew beer. I call it both an art and a science. And of course, being in the field that we are in, I control it all with computers. I have little Raspberry Pis that can control almost all of the brewing process, and so I love it. It's super geeky, super fun. I love doing that. And the other thing is, my family are foodies. My wife's a chef, and so we love cooking. We love exploring new foods and new places to eat, and taking the family to have new experiences together in new restaurants. You know, we live in Northern California, so we're very blessed with lots of good food. We're in wine country, so we love to explore wineries. So that's what we do: work hard and play hard.
My one of my favorite vacations my wife and I took, we visited via bikes. Actually, we did like 3 days of biking around the vineyards in Sonoma, in that area, and so, like, you know, we'd visit several wineries and fill up our saddlebags with different bottles, come back exhausted, usually finish one of the bottles of wine, and you know, go out the next day and do it. It was I mean, that was a long, now that I think about it, it was over 10 years ago. That was a fun trip. But what do you got coming down the down the road? What's some plans you have, either for you or for CyberAuthority, or both?
Yeah, let's see. Personally, again, the other thing we love to do is travel. So our personal goals are just to be able to travel more. Just got back from a great trip in Italy where we were able to meet some family. And for CyberAuthority, we're working on our growth plan. Hopefully, bring on another vCISO within the next 12 to 18 months. We are also working on getting an offering for personal cybersecurity. There's been a lot of demand lately for individuals that need help, and particularly with the recently retired. So we're working on an offering for those who are either just retiring or have just made the transition. Those are the folks who have probably the largest assets that they've built up in their lifetime, but it's also the beginning of their most vulnerable period of their lives. So we're going to work on an offering to be able to help individuals protect themselves and know that they can enter their golden years safe, and try to just get the knowledge out there and help individuals stay safe.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate all that you do for the community. I know that you're always posting stuff on LinkedIn. I think you had some advice on actually how to implement the CSF, for example. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but just appreciate all you're doing, and love the fact that we're in the good fight together. I mean, it's a battle that we're never going to win, but so long as we continue to make forward progress, things are good. And I appreciate you so much for taking time to join us this morning.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate the time.
Now, everybody, stay secure.